that I can kick off over it. So now, friends, databases are very, very interesting. Okay. If you remember when we started talking about storage devices, or when we started talking about storage management, right? When we introduced S3, I told you about different types of data, right? And then we talked about how information has moved from one point to another in storing them. Okay. So I want you to understand that databases are very, very interesting. Okay. So for if you're just hearing this for the first time, a database is simply a collection of organized information. Okay. So that's the way I usually define it. Databases are collections of organized information. I'm going to increase the font so you can say, okay, databases are collections of or collections or collection of organized information. Now, I want you to understand that these databases, right? This collection are made possible with the help of something we call database objects. Okay, this is made possible with the help of what we call database objects. Now, the popular database object used is usually what we call tables. Okay, the popular database object is usually what we call date tables. Now, of course, there are different types. We can have something we call query. We can have something we call forms. We can have something we call reports. Now, before I dive deeper into this, I want to give you all some analogies so that we can try to relate. Friends, you will agree with me that if we use database to store information, in other words, we use databases to store data. That's what this means. Collection of organized information. It means that information, data is organized. Is it not true? So we store it and call it a database. Now, before this, do you know that we use different means to store information. We use files. So example of how e.g. of how data stored. So, we usually have what we call files, right? And I can create a simple file. Okay. Maybe I use Notepad, or maybe I use something like this. Let's click on this, and I'll just type, if you watch here, I'll just call it pass credential.txt. I'll hit enter. This is a file here I just created, credential.txt. Did you see that? Credential.txt. And inside here, I can store different things. For example, password. Do you understand? I can put a password and simply say, let's say, try me now 2025. You understand? So username can be admin. So this is a credential. Okay. Now this is stored inside this file. Okay. If I right click this and say reveal in file explorer, you will see that this is the file. Okay. This is a file, a simple text file. Now, friends, I want to ask you all a question. Okay. I'm sure you all can relate. If this is a simple file, okay, this is okay. Let's bring this here and say we have a file here. So I'll come here and type file. Sorry, let's do it again. Click on this, come here, click this, click here and say file. Okay, so this is a file, right? Now my question to you is this. Right now, you can add contents into this file. Is that true? Now, there are a lot of things that usually happen. So files can be stored in either text formats. Okay, we can store this file in text format, just like you can see .txt. Okay, if you watch here, you see .txt, and it's also possible to store this file in what we call CSV or XLS, Excel formats, or CSV, which we call comma separated values. Is it not true? Now, and one of the benefits of that file is that the file can contain a lot of information inside of it. Now, but I want to tell you one of the limitations why we don't just store information inside files like this. Okay, so this is a file. Okay, this is a file, and we use it to store information. Okay, so before we got into database management systems, right, this was what people were using, files to store information. Okay, now one of the problem or limitation with storing information in a file is something we call locking. Locking. Okay, that's I'm going to so that you can understand it better. So let's just do this. Um, okay, Control D. Sorry. So it's called locking. Okay. Now, when this file is being locked, how do I mean by it's being locked? I want to ask you all a question currently on this session. Please, just think, okay? Have you ever tried to edit a file, right? In maybe Microsoft Word, in Excel, or anywhere. When you open that file, it tells you that this file is currently in use. Have you ever seen such a thing? You're working on a file and it tells you this file is currently in use, or this file is currently opened by another program, or this file is open somewhere. Have you ever seen that before? Please type yes in the comment section. Please let me know. Okay, good, good, good. Now, beautiful. Now, what I mean by that is this. If more than 5 persons, right? This is a file, okay? Just like we say, this is a file called credential, and we tell people to put their password inside this, okay? If I tell people to put their password inside this file, if this file is hosted maybe on Drive or somewhere, if I open this file and I start adding something, right? It's going to tell you that this file is currently in use. So until I am done, before you will be able to add your own content. That's the same thing that happens. So 5 or 4 or 10 people cannot add their content at the same time. You understand? So except we introduced something we call version control. Version control. Okay? Version control or versioning. That's when it can allow you to add contents and then it will track who is adding what. Do you understand? So this is one of the limitations of using a file to store information. In terms of capacity, a file like an Excel file can store millions of records. You understand? Now, over time, we moved on. We stopped using files. It's not like we stopped using it because it all depends on the scale of your information. Okay, companies use files. Okay, but if they need to do something very, very large, they're going to use what we call databases. Okay, so we stopped. Over time, companies look for a better way so that more people can simultaneously add content into this file. For example, do you know Facebook has a database? And if Facebook has a database, do you know that the same way that you are adding information, there are other persons that's also adding information. So they have maybe they have different types of database, maybe a photo database and so on and so forth, categorized by different users. Do you understand? So multiple persons can be doing multiple things at the same time. Have you ever wondered that it's possible to log in on your phone and at the same time log in on your computer system? And you can be able to post information at the same time. That would have not been possible if we were using a file. I hope you all understand this, right? So in recent time, we're using what we call databases. Okay. Now, friends, just to do a quick recap, I want to tell you something we call DBMS. Okay. DBMS, Database Management Systems. Even though I know we've touched a little bit on it, Okay, now, but I want you to know that DBMS, which is called Database Management Systems, they are simply systems or softwares that can be used to manage databases. Do you understand? They are softwares that can be used to manage what? Databases. Okay? Don't forget this. Now, let me even put some, okay, so what can we do with a database? Let me maybe let me put some things here. So we can do what we can have simultaneous connections on a database, simultaneous simultaneous connections. We can also have, we can create databases. We can also do set security and permissions or in and encryptions. Okay. So what else can we do? There are so many things we can do. We can do what we call user management. User management. Okay. So this from okay. Create so this is what I want to put, create and store in databases. Good. So with a DBMS, we can do this and many more, many other things that it can do. Do you understand? So we can set permissions, we can secure it, we can put encryption. Okay. So like this file, for instance, this file you have here. Okay. Now, there are a lot of skills that will be required if we want to set permission on who can access this file. You need to have good Linux skills. I don't know how many of you took your time to watch the Linux videos. You'll notice that there are some things you can do. Read write permission, RWX. You can configure some permissions to determine who can access a file. Okay. Now, there are other things one will want to do on files. You understand? User management, which user can access this file, and so on. So, but all those things comes with a database management system. Okay. With a database management system, you can perform this kind of operations. You can create and store data in databases. You can perform simultaneous connections. Okay. You can set security and also encrypt your data. And you can create user and determine what the user can do. We call it privileges or grant privileges. Okay. Now let's move on. Examples of database management systems. So I'll come here. So I'll just say types of DBMS. Okay, so off the top of my head, we have Microsoft Access, MS Access. We have MS SQL, SQL. We have MySQL. We have MongoDB. Okay, let me reduce the font so this is not too. Oh my god, this is actually the smallest. So, but let's. So these are examples of database management systems that we have. Okay, so we have this. We also have something we call Postgres DB. Okay, so these are types of database management systems. Okay, now this is going to make more sense because I'm going to stop writing all this and try to do something practical so all you all can relate. Now, for how many of you have used Microsoft Access before? You've used Microsoft Access before. Please type yes, just to be sure. You've used Microsoft Access before. Okay, let's see. Okay, great. No. Okay, good. Thank you. No. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Let's continue. Now, I'm going to click on my Windows computer because I have Access already installed, right? So let's see. Access 2013. There are different versions. I think maybe I think the last time I heard of a version is I think version 2020 or so. I'm not so sure which is the latest version because it's been a very long time. I used to train people on that, so it's been a very long time. So now this is a database management system. Okay, this is a database management system. Back in the day, as far back as 2005, 2007, right? A lot of companies use this to make money, right? They can create databases with this, you understand, and do a lot of interesting things. For example, if you say you want to create let's say you want to create a nutrition tracker, you understand, you want to track your food and know the calories and all those things, right? They have a template here. This is a template, so you can actually just click on this and you'll be able to see what it looks like. Okay, and you're going to see different kinds of things here. Okay, if I just click on this and I say let me just give it a name. I'll give it a name here and say nutrition DB. Okay, and I'll click on create, and automatically it's going to create that database for me. Okay, now this is what we see, friends. This is what you are seeing. Okay, now but I want to bring your attention to something. Do you remember that I told you about something called database objects? Okay, so to store and organize this information, we use some kind of objects. Okay, the popular one is called what? Tables. Okay, so in this database management system called Microsoft Access, there are some database objects here. If you see here, we have tables, queries, and forms. Do you understand? So this big, huge database that you have here, right? It's a nutrition tracker. It's like a database application, okay, that Microsoft Access gave to you. Now, back in the day, I remember one of my mentors literally we go to Access, get something like this because we know how to write some VBA. We call it Visual Basic. It's a programming language, right? Then we edit some of these things, customize it, change the color, and we'll be able to build softwares for our clients. Do you understand? Especially businesses that want to store information and the rest of them. And some of them love using Access. So we just use this kind of a thing to create something for them. But this is a very, very long time. Do you understand? So now this is just a table. Okay, so they have a table for activity level, a table for exercise log, a table for foods, a table for tips, weight logs, and different kinds of things. Now, let me show you something. If I click on enable content, you're going to see something. Can you see the way this looks like? This is the way this form looks like. Okay, so you can see different kinds of information here. If you want to enter your weight, did you see enter my weight? If you click on this, it's going to bring up a form. You now enter your information. And once you're done, if I say maybe 35 and I click on OK, did you see that? It's going to log the weight here. And of course, depending on how this works, and you'll be able to do a whole lot of interesting things. If you click on food diary, you'll be able to enter the type of food you'll be entering. Now, because I'm not teaching you all how Access works, right? But this is a kind of database that stores information, okay, and organizes that information using database objects. Now, some of you might be into real estate. So let me show you something else. Let me see. I'll click on new and say, let's see if I can find something. Home inventory. Real estate, good. So this is real estate. I'll click on this. I say real estate. I'll just click on create. So you see how it looks like. Beautiful. So now if you notice the same thing, this has this information. So this could even be like a mobile application that you have on your phone, right? Now, let's say as the CEO, you have a secretary or you have staffs working for you. And then when somebody wants to maybe enter some information, you can click on new property. You understand? So if there's a new property, you'll come here and enter the information of that new property. Do you understand? Enter all the details of that new property. You save it. Do you understand? At the end of the day, click on close. All those information, the list, all those information will be stored here. Do you understand? So whenever you click on property, you can see all the properties here and the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the garage, and all those things. Friends, friends. Example of a school. You went to school, right? Everybody here, I believe, at one form or the other, you went to a school, right? Or you learned formally. Now, you'll notice that some schools, right, they have different structures. They have a principal, okay? They have teachers or this what we call lecturers, okay? Or in the I think in secondary school, what do we call them? I think we'll just address them by their name, Mr. Bayomi and Mr. Peter and so on. I don't think maybe form mistress and all those names, right? So now imagine you are the owner of the school, right? Imagine you are the owner of the school and you want to track all the information that is going on in your school. Okay. So how do you do that? In those days, they used to have different big textbooks. If you go to the principal's office, you see huge, what does they call it? Those thick covers, okay? Those thick covers. I don't know if it's 100 leaves or 80 leaves, right? And you see them stacked everywhere. They have a book for people, students who paid school fees. They have a list for students who have registered and all those things, right? So I want you to imagine that kind of that thing that happened, right? Where they stored information. Imagine that we decide to move all those information into Access. Do you understand? If I want to do that, I'm going to store each of them. Each book is going to be a table. Do you understand? Each book will be a table. In this case, this is tenants. You store information for your tenants. You store information for your properties. Did you see that? So let's try and create one for ourselves. I'll click on this. I'll click on new, and I'll click on let's see. I want to create a blank one. Did you see blank desktop database? So I'll just call it school DB. Okay, I'll click on create. So if you notice, there's nothing here. Did you see that? And I am the owner of the school. I want different kinds of information. I want to be able to track. I want to know the number of teachers I have in my school. So I'm going to create a database object called table. Okay, I'll right click this, rename it. Okay, now, but this is open, so I need to save it. I'll click on this and let's click on save. So I'll click on this and save it and say this is teachers table. So I'll call it teachers and click OK. Did you notice there's teachers here? Now, I can choose to create another table. I'll click on create and click on table, and this is table. Can you see that? Now, if I click on this save, or I click on this and click save, it's the same thing. I'll give that table a name. So let's say we have another table for students. Did you see that? I'll click OK. Now, let's say we want to create the third table. Now, let's say this table here, I want to give it a name. So I'll click Control S to save the table. I'll call this table subjects. Did you see that? I'll click OK. So these are three tables that we have. Did you see that? Now, but this table does not have information. Just like Excel, just like your exercise book, this information are stored in rows and columns. Rows and columns. So inside this teachers table, let's say we want to have a column. A column. You see that this is a column. This is another column. We want to have a column for ID. We want to have a column for name. So I'll click here and choose short text. I'll call this name. Did you see that? I'll come here and say name. I'll come to this one and click here. Just click OK. Now click here and choose short text. Let's say age. I'll come here. Now for age, okay, I'll just click on this. This one, choose this, and let's call this gender. Did you see that? And yes. So if this is the whole record I want to store, so this is the record I want to store in the database. Does that make sense? I want to store this record in the database for what? Okay, this is teachers, right? I hope I'm in the right database. Yeah, this is for teachers. You understand? So this is for subjects. This is for students. If you double click on this, oh, I was actually doing it inside subjects. So, which means, okay, so rather, let me change for subjects. I can use a different thing. You understand? So, for subjects, instead of using this, I'll just come here and say, um, I'll just say subjects, and I'll just come here and select this, right click, and we can rename the field and call it let's say score, just to keep it very simple. Okay, now, friends, if I want to fill this information, I'll just come here and put a name and say, let's say this is Achiever. You understand? I can come here and say Achiever scored 98 in what subjects? Maths. You understand? In maths. So if I hit enter, it's going to take me to the next one. I can do the same thing, right? I can say Vivian. I'll come here. I'll say 95. I'll come here. I'll say chemistry. See that? So the same thing over and over again. I'm sure every one of you are familiar with this. Now, this is what we mean by storing information in an using database objects in columns and in rows. Okay, I can continue doing so many things like this, but I don't want this to be our focus. Okay, now we're still going to do something similar to this. So please, I want to encourage you all to pay rapt attention so you can understand. Now, we've been able to create a database. This is a simple database, right? It's called School DB. That's the name of our database. And inside this database, we have different tables, okay? Teachers, students, and subjects. There's no record inside the students table. There's no record inside the teachers table, but there are records inside the subjects table. Does that make sense? Friends, over time, companies want to store robust information. Okay, so not all companies uses Microsoft Access. Okay, so in recent time, companies use the ones I have mentioned here. MySQL, popular ones, most MongoDB, PostgreSQL, and MSSQL. We also have the popular one called Oracle. Some of you must have heard about Oracle database before. Okay, now those are popular databases. Okay, I hope this makes sense to everybody. Now, in today's class, I'm going to build upon it. Okay, we are going to be learning MySQL. Okay, MySQL. Now, once we understand how it works, then I'll be able to connect it to the cloud. And then we can understand that AWS, as a cloud service provider, has something we call AWS RDS, Amazon RDS, okay? Relational database systems. You understand? So if you click here and type RDS, manage relational database service, rather, not systems, okay? Manage relational database service, okay? So this is our end goal, but I want to build upon this till we get to this point, okay? So remember, we are cloud engineers, and as a cloud engineer, something usually happen, and let me show you. Let's say a user connecting to a DB. If I do this and click on images, let's see if we're going to find okay, good. I think I like this image, even though it's not so detailed, but okay, let me see if I can find any other one. Okay, let's just use this. All right, click this, copy image, come here and paste it. Good. So I'll come here, click here. Okay, good. Now, friends, if you watch this, you will see that different users, you and I, can connect to a web application. And when you connect to that web application, the web application by itself is connected to a database. Do you understand? So only the web application have to the data. Okay, only the web application has access to the database. Imagine when you will log in that is asking you for that information. Okay. Now, what it does behind the scene is that the web application, right, collects that information and searches the database to know if this user, the password you type, matches what is stored in the database. Remember when you were creating your Facebook account, it asked you for username and password. Okay. So the next time you try to log in, it will, because it has stored that information in the database, that's your username and password in the database. If you try to log in again, it's going to ask you to provide a username and password. And if you check the database, what you provided is not correct, it will tell you login failed. Please, I hope we understand this. That is how these databases work. Okay, so I want to teach you or explain to you a popular one called MySQL. Okay, we have MariaDB and many others. There are many other database management systems. Okay, now because of time, maybe during the what is it called? Just maybe during the intermediate class, I might dive deeper into the types of DBMS. We have what we call relational database management system, and we have what we call non-relational database management system. Okay, and why I'm saying that is because most of this database falls into different categories. Okay, falls into different categories. This one, for instance, is a non-relational database management system. This is a relational database management system. Okay. Now, because of time, I can't really cover that much, but let me see if I can do some kind of justice here so you can understand. So, the way a relational database management system works is that you are you're you're trying to get data from different tables. Okay, it's like joining different tables and pulling records from it. That's the way a relational database management system works. Okay, one table is related to another table. Okay, one table is related to another table. So for instance, now let's say this table called subjects. If I come here and say, I come here and say student underscore ID. Did you see that? So this is under subjects. So every student has an ID. Okay. So if you come here and say my student's ID is 022, just like your reg number. Do you understand? And this person is 0456. Okay. So these are your student's ID. Now, automatically, it's supposed to mean that we are supposed to come here and put different IDs. So if we come here, we'll put something like, what is it called? We'll do something like this and say student underscore ID. And when we come here, we'll do something like name. You understand? We'll do something like this name. So for this student ID, you can come and say, if you watch here, 0223. Did you see that? So if you come here and say 0223, the name here is Achiever. Did you see that? So this is a student's table, right? Now, if you watch here, anytime somebody sees this thing, right? Once this person sees 0223, right, as the student ID, it means that if they come to this table and they look for student ID, they should be able to see your name. So there's usually a relationship between this table and this table. Okay, so you can join these two tables together and pull record from them. I'm trying my best not to dive so deep because of the time we have. Okay, but there's such a thing as called relational databases. Okay, so you can have, if like all those examples I showed you all, if I click on open and you see all those real estate databases, all these tables you see here, they are all connected to each other. They are all connected. Do you understand? They are all connected to each other. So for instance, if you click on payments, for instance, you click on payments, you see this is what we have here, right? And if you click on, if you check here, you see payment type. You see that? There are different kinds of informations here that you can also find from here. And if you check here, you see there's a table called payment type. Do you understand? And it's connected to it. So relational databases, for short, is simply joining two or more tables together and pulling information from them. You understand? So there are different kinds of things we would have touched, but because of time, I won't go into it. Okay. So far, if you understand everything I've done, please type yes on the comment section before we move to MySQL. Please, if you understand so far, just type yes on the comment section before we move to MySQL. Okay, this is where it gets more interesting. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now, so since you all understand what we've done so far, right? We want to move into a popular database management system. Okay, we want to move into a popular database management system. Okay, now there are four things I want you all to have in mind anytime you hear the word databases. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Let's come here, click here, and click here, CRUD. Okay, I'll come here and expand this. This is called CRUD. Okay, so now I want you to have this at the back of your mind. Most applications you use is usually performing this operation behind the scene. Most application you use is performing this operation behind the scene. As a database engineer, you're supposed to have this knowledge. Okay, so one of them, the C stands for create. Okay, the C stands for create. Okay, the R stands for read, and the U stands for update, and the D stands for delete. Let's reduce this font. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to. Okay, so please, I want you to pay rapt attention. This is very, very important. This is very, very important. Okay, let's just leave it the way it is. Okay, so create, read, update, and delete. These are the basic operations. There are many more, but these are the basic operations that databases usually perform. It's either you're creating something, or you're reading something, or you're updating something, or you're deleting something. Okay, so let's get into these databases so that I can show you how it works practically. So we're going to be using a Linux environment. So these databases can work in both Linux environments and in what is it called, in a Windows environment as well as Mac. Okay, so whichever one you want to use, that's fine, but I'll encourage you to use the same that I used. Okay, so I'll just come here. I want to create an EC2 instance, okay, which is going to be running on Linux. Okay, so we can move on it. So I just came here and I give this a name. I'll scroll down. Okay, I'll choose Ubuntu, right? So this will be free tier. So I'll scroll down. So AMI, I'll collapse this instance type. I'll click on this and T3 large. I'm sure you all know the reason why I do that. So I'll just choose T3 large. I told you all to please always use free tier, okay? And don't forget to delete it when you're done. So T3.x large. Now, I'll scroll down. So I'll just collapse this. Keep here. I'll just click here and let's see. Cloud engineer, or do I use this? Okay, I'll do this. No problem. I'll collapse this. Networking. Okay, right now, we can also put some of those networking here, but right now we don't need those networking, so I'll just minimize this. Okay. 8 GB is enough, so I'll just minimize this. All right, good. One instance is enough, so we're good to go. All right, so I'll click on launch instance. Okay. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. If you've been following us all along, you should be familiar with everything I just did. Okay, so I'll just simply click on this, or I can just come here and click on view all instances, and it's going to display the instances that I have here. Okay, so this is the DB server that I just created right now. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've told you all how to connect to this. Okay, so because a lot of you are finding it very easy with git bash these days, so I'll just come here and just type git bash and click on this. So I'll need to cd into my downloads folder because that's where my key is. I'm sure you all know how this works now. So I'll just cd into downloads, all right, and hit enter. If you're confused, please type on the comment section and I won't assume, all right? Okay, I'm presuming because everybody's good with all these basics. So I'm going to check this database here and click connect, right? Connect, and it's going to provide the information I need. Okay, so I can go to SSH client to get it. I'll just click on this, and this is the information I need. So I'll just copy this. Okay, so I'll come here, right click, and paste it. See there? And I hit enter. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, good. So you see, we're inside the server. All right, I'll click. Good. So we're inside the server. We're good to go. All right, good. Now I want to believe that everybody is following and there's no confusion. We're all good. So it's that's how they say it. It's so funny when people say that. So it's about to go down. All right, good. So let's learn MySQL, right? MySQL is simply it used to be an open source database management system, right? So, but it was bought over by a company called Oracle, okay? Oracle. And because it was open source, and you remember I told you that anytime you hear the word open source, it means it's free and the code is modifiable. You can modify the code. All right, good. So, but when Oracle bought it, okay, I think some Solaris or also I really can't tell. So when Oracle bought the software from MySQL, right? The developers who built MySQL, right? When they bought the software from them, they revoked the open source license. Okay, so people can no longer use MySQL for free. Okay, they have to pay for it. So and the community does not want that. Okay, so one of the things that the owner of MySQL did was he cloned the MySQL server, and then he cloned the code and edited some things. So he created another copy of MySQL server, and that's why if you go online, sometimes you always see MariaDB. Okay, so MariaDB is similar to MySQL. Take note of that in case you are trying to install a software. You're trying to install MySQL DB and you see MariaDB. It's the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. Don't forget that. Now, having said that, we want to install MySQL. Okay, MySQL can come in different variants. The two popular variants is called I'll say it again. the two versions we have is client and server version. Okay, so because we want to set up our database server, do you remember the image we used here? We want to set up our database server. Okay, we want to set up our database server here. Okay, so the word server simply means it's going to run on a computer system. Okay, good. So now this our computer system we spawn up here is where we're going to install our database server. And for us to do that, all we need to do is just to type some Linux commands. Okay, if you've not learned it, please use this to practice. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay, it's typing. I don't know why it disappeared. Okay, good. So I would say sudo. Did you see that? Sudo. Now, who can tell me the full meaning of the word sudo? Can anybody tell me? Anybody? Anybody? Let's see. Oh, so sorry. So sorry so sorry. So sorry. I noticed it. Probably that's why this was taking time. Okay. So sorry. So who can tell me what sudo means? Okay, great, great, Adekule. Thank you so much. All right. So what? Mr. Idris, you're very funny. He says Sojimoto. I don't know how you came about that, but that's very, very funny because I didn't expect that. Okay, so yes, it's super user do. Okay, so it means this the user can. It's just like invoking your super power, the admin privilege from the super user. Okay, now what about APT? Who can tell me what APT means? APT. Anybody? APT. Okay, let's just continue. So let's not make it a Linux class. This is just to update it. Okay, sudo space apt space update. So I'll just hit enter, and it's going to update the operating system. Okay, it's in progress. It's in progress. Good. So I'm going to type clear, another Linux command. All right. So we've done the first step. The first step is to update our operating system. Okay, please write it down. The first step is to update your operating system. The second step right now is to install MySQL server. Okay, second step, install MySQL server. How do I do that? Sudo apt install MySQL dash server. Did you see that? Dash Y. I'm sure you all know the reason why I'm putting the dash Y. Okay, I'm sure everybody knows why I'm putting the dash Y. Okay, let me know if there's any confusion. Okay, yeah, yes. So this is the command we use in installing MySQL. Okay, so I'll just hit enter. So you can remove the dash Y and see what's going to happen. Okay, it's at some point to ask you, do you want to install yes or no? I don't want it to prompt me yes or no. That's why I'm putting this. Okay, because I'm sure of what I want. Good. So it's installing MySQL right now. Okay. It's installing it. It's installing it. Okay, let's wait for some minutes. Seconds rather. Okay, great, 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 great. Awesome. So I'll type clear and I'll hit enter. So friends, MySQL has been installed. If you've done it, please type yes. If you're following along and you understand what we've done. So I'm going to move on. So this is what I'm going to do. How do I confirm if MySQL is installed? I can type MySQL dash dash version. Can you see we have a version there? Another way I taught you to check is to type which MySQL. Do you remember? If you do this, you'll be able to see the path where the binary is stored. And then the last method I told you to confirm. Now, this last method is very important. So it's possible that an application is installed, but the application is not running. Friends, take note of what I just said. It's possible the application is installed, but the application is not running. Okay, so we confirm that MySQL is available. Okay, so let's confirm if MySQL is running. So how do we do that? You type sudo, okay, and when you do that, let's see. A few minutes, please. Excuse me. Okay, I'm wondering what's happening. I'm typing, but it's not responding to my clicks. Okay, friends. So sorry, friends. I think it should be the network because it's raining here since not since morning, but it's been raining for a long time now. So I'll just type sudo system CTL, which means system control. System CTL, which means system control. Some call it system cuttle. Cuttle. I don't know why, but I mean it's control. I call it control, system control, or system cuttle, anyone. So now when you do sudo system control, you put a space. Okay. Now the next thing you want to type is status. You want to check the status. Okay. Then you put a space. Okay. The next thing you do is to type MySQL. Did you see that? Sudo space system control space status space MySQL. All right. That's what you should type. Now, if I hit enter, this is what you will see. It tells you what MySQL is active. Okay. And it's also running. Please take note of this. And I think I've explained to you the reason why this is always enabled. Okay. So if it's not enabled, you should always enable it. Okay. Which means that each time the system goes off, if it comes back on, MySQL will be automatically started. All right. Good. Now, so this is how to confirm if MySQL is active and it's running. Okay. By typing this command we have here. Okay, good. Now, to step out of this, just press Q. Q. All right. Now, I'm sure you all can see that we've installed MySQL. Okay. Now, let's move our database server, our database management system server is configured. Okay. How do we use this database server? Okay. How do we use it? I'm going to teach you the best practice. Okay. And by that, I mean, I'm going to teach you how we do it in production. Okay. So first of all, I will encourage you to do something. So if I want to go, first of all, if I go into to use this database, if I type sudo, right, and put a space and type MySQL, did you see that? Sudo space MySQL. If I hit enter, did you notice something? We are already inside the environment. We're inside the MySQL environment. Okay? So everything we type here is very, very important. Very, very important. Okay? So what I'm going to do right now is to step out of this. Okay? Now, because there are some things here that shouldn't be. So if I want to see the databases inside here, so remember that this is a database management system. And if you type this command called show databases, and I put it, don't forget to put this semicolon at the end. Semicolon. If you don't put it, you get an error message. So if I do this and I hit enter, you're going to see this. Okay, these are the databases we have. Okay, now, but there's some things we need to wipe off. Okay, so how do we do it in production? In other words, when I work with developers, how do we usually do it as a cloud engineer? How should you do the best practice? I'm going to exit out of this database and show you. Either you type exit or you type quit, Quit. So if I do that, it steps out of the database. Did you see that? It tells me bye and steps out. Okay. Now, first of all, I want to be sure. Does everybody understand how I got to this whole point? From the comment section, let me know if you understand how I got to this point. Please type yes, just to be sure we're all on the same page. Okay, I can see a lot of no. Please, what if you have MySQL on your machine already? Oh, that's good. Millicent, if you already do, that's fine. Just remember, just know how to get access to it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and if you want to uninstall it, Mrs. Millicent, you can also do the same. Okay, I can see some no. Okay, so now I didn't do anything different. I want to be sure. Does everyone, I'm using Mac, could not install? If you're using Mac, first of all, how many person, okay, not installing on Mac. I think it's only one person that has said that here. So this is what I want you to confirm. The person using Mac, when you type apt update, are you able to update it from the terminal? Sudo apt update, does it work for you? Does it work for you? Mr. Prince, kindly confirm quickly so we can continue. Okay, I'm not getting a response from him or her. All right. So for those who said no, Mr. Paul, and okay, you say it's working for you. So show us the screenshots you have for the MySQL. You said it's not working for you. Because if you say it's not working for you, it means you got an error message. So let's do it again so you all can see. I'm going to type a command so that you can see all the commands I have typed. Okay. I taught you in Linux. If you want to see all the commands you have typed, type history. History. Did you see that? Once you type history and you hit enter, it's going to show you all the Linux commands. Did you see that? So this is the first thing I did. I updated my environment. Is it not true? When I was done updating it, I cleared the screen. Then I installed my SQL server. So this is how to install my SQL server. So Mr. Prince or Mrs. Please check this and confirm this is the same command that you typed without any omission. Okay, good. So once you install it, you will know. Okay, and this is how we confirm the version and we check the path where it's installed, and then we check the status. Okay, and then once you are able to check the status, you will see if it is running or not. Okay, once you confirm and it tells you actively running, the only thing I did to get into this environment that you all see at the top here, that you said you were not aware, is just this number 10. I typed sudo, I put a space, and I typed MySQL. That's all. And when I got inside that environment, I typed show databases. That's all. Please, does it make sense? Does this recap make sense for everybody? If we get it now, please type yes, just to be sure, so we can move on. Do we all get it? I want to be sure that as many persons that spend and commit their time to join me during the live session, it's making sense for you. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Prince, for observing that. Good. Okay, so I don't want you to just join the session and you're not getting it. Please, I encourage you, if at any point you get lost, you don't understand, document it on the comment section, and then I can see it and try and see how I can help you. Okay, but if we're watching this video, we'll do the justice, please. You can always wait, and after the session, you watch the video. All right. Okay, good. So, friends, let's secure this our database. Okay, so there's something I want to do. Please pay rapt attention. This one might seem a little bit confusing, a little bit. Okay, but just this is just a secure way. okay, a secure way of using our databases. We want to disable a lot of things. Okay, we want to disable a lot of things. So how do I do that? Just type sudo, okay, and you type MySQL. Now don't hit enter. Don't hit enter. Now put underscore and type secure. Put another underscore and type installation. Can you see it? I want you to see it clearly so you can understand what I typed there. Sudo, you put a space, and I say MySQL underscore secure underscore installation. MySQL underscore secure underscore installation. It's a script. It's a script. Okay, a Linux script. Okay, so in the intermediate session, you're going to learn more about how to write some scripts, how to do automation with your Linux skills. Okay, how to do bash scripting and the rest of them. Okay, so now, but this is a simple script that was written here. So take note of what is going to happen when I hit enter. Okay, I'll hit enter. Now you see it's asking me for something. It's telling me that I'm trying to secure my MySQL server deployment. Okay, but right now I am connecting using a blank password. Did you notice that when I ran this number 10 here, number 10, it didn't ask me for password. Okay, it didn't ask me for password. We were connecting using a blank password. Okay, so it wants us to be able to, it's asking you, do you want to set to be able to set a password and use a very good strong password? There's a component or plugin called validate password component. Okay, now of course this is not active right now. Okay, so even if I type yes, it will still disable this, but just press Y. Okay, if you ask you a question, just press Y. Okay, I'll press Y and I'll hit enter. Okay, now it's asking you the strength of the password. Okay, don't worry about this password validation policy for now. Okay, for now, we don't want to configure this. Okay, a little bit beyond the scope of this. So I'm just going to, please enter 0 for low. Okay, so the strength of the password is low. Okay, so I'll just type 0. That's what I want, not 1 for medium or 2 for strong. Okay, just type 0. Now, even if I do strong, it will still disable this. Let me show you what I mean. Did you see what it did? It told you skipping password. Okay, so why? Because it's using the authentication socket. So, but again, don't worry about this. Okay, all right. So, friends, if you've gotten to this place, the only thing I want you to be typing is to press Y, Y, Y. Okay, for yes. The Y is for yes. So it's telling you, do you want me to remove anonymous users? Just press Y and hit enter. It's asking you, do you want me to disallow root login remotely? That is, do you want me to allow somebody to connect from somewhere else outside this computer using the root user? Because I don't want that. So it's telling me, do you want me to disallow it? I said yes. Okay, so I'll hit enter. It's asking me, do you want me to remove the test database and any access to it? I'll say yes. I'll press Y and hit enter. It's asking me, do you want to effect these changes right now? Okay, to reload all the privileges and effect the change, just press Y and hit enter. And that is all. I hope I did not confuse you. If you look, you will notice that everything I did is just Y, 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 Y. Okay? It shouldn't confuse you. All right? I didn't do anything complex. All I did was to type this command, and then we continued configuring our database. Okay? Now, friends, we want to move to the interesting part of this session right now. Okay? So this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to type called sudo space MySQL and go into this our database. Okay, sudo space MySQL. Now, if I do this, it takes me into the MySQL environment. Friends, do you remember what I told you. Oracle is a registered trademark. Blah, 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 blah. So is what I told you about Oracle being the owner of MySQL and so on. They bought it from the founders and so on and so forth. Okay, good. Now, this is the database engine. Okay, remember we call it database management system. But in this case, I can also, sometimes people call it a database management engine. Database management engine. So this MySQL being the database management engine, we can use this engine to create databases. Friends, do you remember when I created Access and I created some data, a school DB database? The same way we have this real estate database. Okay, so we can also create our own database here. Okay, now, but friends, I want you to pay attention. To talk to this engine, there's a language we use to talk to the database. Okay, there is a language we use to talk to the database. Every one of you can hear me because I'm speaking English. All right, English. If you go to some cities or nations where they are not familiar with English and you share them this recording, they won't be able to comprehend or enjoy the recording. Okay. Now, this database engine has a language that we can use to talk to it. If I want this database engine to create a database for me, I need to speak the language it understands. Okay. Now, what we call that language is called SQL. SQL, which stands for Structure Query Language, or some people call it SQL or SQL, SQL or SQL. Okay, Structure Query Language. How many of you have heard about SQL before? Just type yes on the comment section, just so that I'll be sure. SQL, you've heard about SQL before, or you've heard about it, but you don't know about it. Okay, okay, good, 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 good. So we are learning, we're diving deep into it now. So we want to learn the database language. We want to learn the language that we can use to talk to our database engine. And our database engine is what? MySQL. I hope this makes sense to everybody, right? Good. Now, there's so many things we're going to do now. So because I don't want you all to lose it, right? I'm going to use a popular resource, which I will encourage you after this session to go and look into it. Okay. So I'll come here and on the search bar, okay, I'll come here and say okay. I'll just come here and say W3 schools and W3 schools MySQL here. So this link, I can share it with you or on the comment section so you can. Oh, Mr. Daniel, Mrs. Daniela said yes, 10G. I think with Oracle. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So maybe you're referring to Oracle 10G or maybe the version of the one you've used. Okay, so let's refer to this what is it called? This link I just shared right now. And for anybody that this is your first time learning it, now you can come here and read it up on your own. Okay. Now, so MySQL is widely used relational database management system. Okay. It's free and it's open source. It's ideal for both large and small applications. Okay. Start learning MySQL now. So you can just scroll down and see a lot of things. So this is what an SQL statement. So this language, so when you write this language like this, we call it SQL statements. Okay, SQL statements. Okay, so SQL means structure query language. If you click here, you can even learn more about SQL. Did you see that? SQL is a standard language for storing, manipulating, retrieving data in a database. SQL, so blah, blah, blah. The most important thing is that SQL can talk to MySQL, can talk to SQL Server, it can talk to Access, it can talk to Oracle, Sysbase, Infomix, Postgres, DB2, and many other database engine. Do you understand? So, friends, you're learning multi-dimensional skills in this program. That's one thing I want you to really pay attention to. Okay. So you're learning skills that you might even use outside this program. So please, it's very, very important you pay rapt attention. Okay. So if you want to learn more about SQL, please, you can use this resource. It's free. You understand? It's free. You can practice with it and get very good at it. Okay. So, but let's focus on MySQL because that's what we are trying to do. Now, the first thing I want to tell you all is this. This environment has databases inside. Okay. Now, what I did before was to type show and I said databases. And I put a semicolon and I hit enter. And you can see a database, right? Now, some of you will be wondering, must I put this in capital letter? The answer is no. But that's what we refer to as keywords. Keywords. Okay. So MySQL is not case sensitive. Okay. So even if I do the same thing, I say, okay, let's see. If I come here and say show, and I do this and I say databases. Databases. You see, it still shows me the same database. I changed this to uppercase here, and I changed this to lowercase here, and I ended it with semicolon, and it worked for me. I hope this makes sense to everybody. Now, these are SQL statements, okay? Now, friends, there are different things that are already existing inside here, okay? Now, for us to even be able to log into this MySQL editor in the first place is because there was a database called MySQL. Without this MySQL database, I wouldn't have been able to log into this MySQL editor. Okay, let me show you something. If I type select, even if you don't know it, just type it alongside with me. If I say select host, comma, user, comma, or let's not put a comma again. Let's just say from MySQL.user. So for now, let me interpret what I just did here. This select is like saying retrieve. Okay. Do you remember this? Create, read, update, delete. So you want to read information from a database. We use the select statement. I hope that makes sense. If you want to read information from a database, you use the select statement. Okay. So I want to select. So in this database called MySQL, okay, there are tables. There is a table called user. Okay. There is a table called what? User. And inside that user table, I want to see the host column and the user column. If I hit enter, this is what you're going to see. Now, let's assume you didn't understand what I just did. Okay. Again, I'll assume you didn't understand what I just did. So, but if you watch here, you see that this is show databases, right? And it shows you the databases you want. Now, you can switch from one database to another database. How do we switch from one database to another one? You use the command use. Okay, watch what I typed here, use. We put a space and type the name of the database. So if I type use MySQL and I put semicolon and type enter, what did you see? It tells you what? Database changed. Just focus on this one. Don't worry about this. Database changed. So I'm currently in the MySQL database, even though you cannot see it. Okay, it's not because of this. Okay, I can switch to another database, but it will just tell you database changed. Okay, now if you want to see all the tables, do you remember in Access I told you that inside a database we usually have objects? Okay, so in the database engine we have tables. Okay, so just like in this database we have tables. So if I want to see the tables inside this MySQL database, okay, what do? I will type show tables. I put a semicolon and hit enter. Did you see all the tables inside there? I can scroll up here. Can you see tables in MySQL? Does this make sense? Type yes if you understand on the comments section. If you understand, please type yes, just to be sure that you all are following and you understand. I'm not overwhelming you. Does it make sense for everybody? Just 2 yeses is enough for me, just to be sure. Okay, good. Good. Okay. All right, great. So let's continue. Let's continue. So you switch into a database using the use and the name of the command of the database. So this is it again. Once you see the database, you type what? Use MySQL to switch into that database you want to switch into. Okay. Now, once you switch into it, you want to see the tables inside this database. So you type show tables. And do you notice that if you check the ending of these tables, you see a table called user. You see that? So if I come here and say select user. So just like this table, like if you watch this table called payments, these are two tables. One is called property list, another one is called payments. You see that? So, or let me switch into the one I created. Open and say CRUD. No. So this is the tables I've created. Is it not true? If I click on subjects, you see the ones I created. So inside these tables, we have columns, and we have rows. Okay, this is a row, this is another row, this is another row, and this is a column, another column. Where a column and a row intersect, we call it a cell. Okay, a cell. Now, I'm sure all of you are professionals, and I'm sure you know these basics, but I'm just assuming some persons don't know it. That's why I'm explaining it. Now, but this table, right? This table has records inside of it. And these tables are inside this database called what? SpoolDB. So it's the same thing I'm trying to tell you, that right now, there are some databases in this MySQL. When I type show databases, we have these 4 databases. Okay. So I want to select one of them. So I type use and mention the name of the database. Okay. Now, when I did that, I come to the bottom. Okay. You see that? It tells me database changed. Then I type show tables. It shows me all the tables inside the database. And if you want to see the way the records, that's the fields, the rows, and the columns inside this, okay, you want to read it. We use the word read. We use the select statement, okay, or the select keyword, okay, select keyword. So if I want to see all the record, we use select asterisk. Asterisk is for all the record, okay. Select all the record from, then you specify the name of the table. So if I type the name of the table, which is user, then you put semicolon. If I hit enter, if you see, it shows me so many things. Now, this is not an error or gibberish. It's because the records is too much. If I reduce my fonts, if I try to reduce this font now, as tiny as it goes, it's now, even though you can't see it, right? But it tries to make sense as you reduce the font. It's because there are so many records inside here. That's why you can see it. At least you can see a date here, and you can see a time, and you can see localhost, you can see root here. Okay, and this is the command I typed there. Select all the records inside that table. You see that? Now, but if I say no, I don't want all the records. I only want specific columns. Just like you can come here and say, I only want to see the name column. If I want to see only the name column. So in this case, I only want to see the host column. I'll come here and say, select host. If I do this, you see, select host from user. It shows me all the hosts. Did you see that? If I come again and say, okay, I've seen the host. What if I want to see the user? So there's actually another field called user, even though the table name is user. From experience, I know this. So if you do this, it will show you all the users. So did you notice there's a user called root? And that's how we're able to log into this environment. Okay. If you delete it, you will not be able to come into this MySQL environment. Okay. Good. So friends, I hope this makes sense to everybody. So this is the task I want to do for you all, and then we'll try to start wrapping up the session. Okay. Now, let's try to create this school DB. Okay. I'm going to create this database, and I'm going to create this table called subjects, and then I'm going to put record inside them. Okay. So how do I do it? Okay. The same way they added all this record inside. So you don't need to memorize it, friends. Okay, you don't need to memorize it. This guy comes to the rescue for you. Okay, it comes to the rescue for you. So remember that I told you that you can read record using the select statements. So you can also create record. So in our MySQL, we want to create a database. Okay, we want to create a database. And the command, the statement for that, the SQL statement for that is create database space. Then you write the name of the database and put a semicolon. If you don't want to, if you didn't get that, just come here and look for, you come here and look for MySQL create DB. Can you see it? MySQL create DB. If you click here, it's going to tell you that this is going to help you to create a database. The create database statement is used to create a new SQL database. And this is the formula or the syntax. So if I do create space database and the name, it's going to work. So I'm going to come here and type create. I told you it's not case sensitive, right? So bear with me if I'm using lowercase just to save time. Okay, so I'll click create a database. If you put an extra S, you'll get an error. Create seed, so you get used to it. Create database. Now, what we want to create is what school DB. Is that true? We put a semicolon and hit enter. You see, I've been able to create this database. Okay. If you can see this, it means your query is okay. Okay. Now, we've created our database, what we did here. So we want to create tables inside this database. Okay. How do we create a table using the SQL statement or SQL query? Now, always go back here. Okay. So you can use the same create command. But if you come here, you see it, click on this create table. You see that? And you can see the create table statement. In case you're asking me a question, when you create a database, can you delete it? Yes. You can come here and drop the DB. You can see the command here. You can create a database and drop the database. You can create a table and drop the table. You can even edit the table. That's what we mean by update. Remember our CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. Don't forget it. Every time you do something on Facebook, you are either creating something, you are either reading something, you are either updating something, or you are deleting something. Those are the CRUD operations. CRUD operations you are performing on some websites, on web applications. Okay? Even though you're not aware, but that's exactly what's going on. All right, let's save time and create our database. So I'm going to come here and copy this command. Okay? So this is how I'm going to do it. I'll copy this. Now, because of time, I'll come here and I would have typed it myself, right? But I want you all to be able to replicate this. Okay, so I'll come here. I'll just use an online notepad, or let me see. I think I have VS Code here. So I'll come here and just I'll come here and say, let's call it anything. Subject dot db and hit enter. Now there's no special plugin, so don't worry about this. So this is the command. Okay, this is what I copied from W3 school. Okay, now the next thing I want to show you is how to edit this to create a table. So create space table, and it's asking you for the table name. Is it not true? So whatever the table name, we want to call it subject. So I'll call it subjects. Okay, subjects. Okay, so I always encourage people, if you want to use small letters all through. If you want to use capital letters, use capital letters all through. Don't start using the first one uppercase. Okay, practice. Be consistent. Okay, now, do you notice that when I was creating these columns in Access, for instance, this is name, score, subject, student ID. If I wanted to put something like let's say I want to put something like age. Maybe I want to put something like age here, right? You know, it tells me to click here. Now, did you notice there are different things here? So what do you want the person to put? Is it a text? Is it a number? Is it a currency? Is it date and time? Is it yes or no? Or do you want the person to attach something? So this is what we call data types. Data types. Okay. So when you come here and you see column 1, data type, it means what type of data do you want the person to store? Do you notice that when I was creating this one, I used okay, when I was creating this one, I think so, if I'm correct, I can find out by clicking on this design view. So okay, they are all short types. They are all short types. So watch, I'm going to create one by myself. I'll just come here and say age. I'll come here. Instead of short text for the data type, I'll change it to number. Did you see that? So I'll go to the data sheet view and click save. Now, did you notice there's age here? So if you come here, yes, what I did is also here. Don't worry, it's also from this list here. Okay, it's number, but I just went to the other view to just do it. So under this age, if I come here and maybe this person, achiever, happens to be, let's say he's 38 or 39, right? Let's say achiever is 38 and he wants to be able to put his what is it called? His age here, right? Now maybe I now come and type 38. Did you see that? 38. Now, if I click outside, what do you see here? It's giving me an error. The value you entered does not match the number data type in this column. So if it says enter a new value, if I click on this and enter 38, you see, it's allowed me to go out. So that's what I mean by data type. So it determines the type of data we want the user to store. So when you are creating your table in SQL, you must know the type of table, the type of the data type. Okay, don't forget that. So in case you don't know the data types, still MySQL, this got your back. You can simply scroll down here. Okay, can you see MySQL data types here? MySQL data types, click on it. Okay, and if you click on it, you see that based on version 8, there are different data types. If you want the person to enter characters, when we say characters, it tells you letters, numbers, special characters between 0 to 255. You can use CHAR, car. Do you understand? Now, people popularly use variable character. Okay, so I'll just stick to this. Okay, so but if you want the person to enter only text, you understand, you have to choose this. So if the person enters number, the person will be getting an error message. Okay, all right, so let's just dwell on this. So I'll come here and so we'll come here. So I want this to have ID, right? So I'll come here and say ID. Okay, now there are different types of data type we can use for ID. It can be auto incremental. Okay, that's what we call auto incremental. But I don't want to dwell on this because we're not teaching SQL. So I might do this we'll touch on it on the intermediate so that we'll just save time. Okay, so if I come here, I'll just come here and say the column I want there is ID. Okay, and the column I want here is first name. So I'll come here and say first name underscore name, the column 3. Let's say I just want this to be last underscore name. You see that? Now, these are the 3 columns I have. Now, under the integer, the ID, I can come here and say I want it to be integer. Do you understand? If you come here, now, although if you see here, if you watch closely here, this is what you are seeing. But older versions of MySQL has what we call integer as a data type. We call integer as a data type. But in recent times, they've updated a lot of things, but you can still use integer if you want to. Okay. Now, so because many of them accept character accepts whether it is number or text. Okay. So, but just so that we don't dwell so much on this, I will just leave this. I can just put okay. Let's say the different things I can put here. I can put not null, which means it can accept something that's an empty value. Okay. I'm thinking, do I put a primary key or not? Okay, let me use a simple example that MySQL has for us. So I'll just go back here, and this is how to create a table, right? If you come here, you're going to see a simple example. This is what I mean. Person ID, we can use int, which is for integer. Okay, so this int will hold what? Integer. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so we have last name, variable character, first name, variable character. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so I wanted to use these simple examples, but sometimes there are some things you can add extra here. Okay, but I'm not going to add it. I'll just keep it very simple. So this you have integer. Okay, then the first name, the data type we want to use here is variable character. And if you watch here, this is how it works. So if you come here, you can say variable character. Now, how many characters do you want the person's first name to be? I only want the first name to be 10. If it exceeds 10, it's going to give the person an error. Or I can just, you know what, let's make it 4. Okay, if your first name exceeds 4 characters, you're wrong. It's going to give you an error. Do you understand? So last name, we can do the same thing too. Okay, just so that you can understand how it works. Okay, so I'll just put 4 as well. Now, you can put many more things, but I'll remove these dots here. So the last one, if this is the last column you have, please don't put a comma. Don't put a comma. The last one do not have a comma. So if you watch this one, they're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last one does not always have a comma. Take note of that. Okay, the last one does not have a comma, and you can see this is how it's going to look like when you add data inside of it. This is how the table is going to look like. Okay, so let's create our table with only this information. So I'll just copy this and come to my SQL, right click and paste it. Oh my God, I'm already out of the database. So let's SSH back into it. Let me share this command for you all if you're still practicing with me. So I'll just paste this and hit enter. Right, so okay, good. So I'll type sudo MySQL. If you're wondering whether it's wiped off, the answer is no. Okay, it did not wipe off. So but if I type show databases, this is what you see. Right now, remember, everything I'm doing is inside this database. Is it not true? SchoolDB. So I'm going to type use SchoolDB. Did you see that? Don't forget it to type use SchoolDB. I think I did show you before. Okay, so when I do this, I switch to that database. Now I can right click here and paste. So no, sorry. So I can come here, copy this, and paste it. See that? So don't worry. Instead of this dot it has here, it usually puts this arrow here. Okay, so if you type in and it brings you to a second line, it means it's waiting for a semicolon. or so. Okay, once you put a semicolon, that will be the end of that statement. Okay, don't forget that in case you get an error. So if I hit now, notice that this is going to give me an error because from all indication, I have my comma here. So if I hit enter, you're going to see it failed, right? And this is because the last one still has a comma. Good. So I can press the up arrow key and come here and remove this comma and hit enter. You see? Now, how do I know this table has been created? Just type show tables. See, there's a table called subjects inside the school DB. All right, let's be fast. How do we add record inside this table? Okay, how do we add record? Now, of course, you can do describe and say DSC, describe table. And then you mention the name of the table, which is called subjects. Sorry, I'm supposed to put semicolon. Now, once you do that, it's going to show you the structure. For some reason. Okay, let's just continue. Let's just continue so that if I want to wipe the screen like I do in Linux, I usually just use Control L. Okay, if I use Control L, it's going to wipe off everything for me. All right. Now, all I need to do is to insert record inside that database. Okay, so if I do show tables, it still show me this. All right. To insert record into a table, all you need to do, if you come here, look for insert into. All right. It's similar to this, but the difference is that we use a different syntax. Okay. If you click on this, this is how it looks like. All right. So I'll be faster this time around. Okay. So you can always just either you copy this or this is the same thing. Okay. So I'll just do this. But this, if you watch this, this does not have a column. So this can add the values inside directly. But let me use this so that you don't get confused. I'll just copy this, come to this guy. Okay, paste it here. So insert into, you specify the table name. Our table name is what? Subjects. So I'll come here and type subjects. Okay, now it's telling me column 1, column 2, column 3. You understand? So what is the columns? Let me see. How do we describe? Let me see. I want to show you all the structure. Let me see if this is going to work. Describe subjects. Okay, good. So when I say describe the name of the table, you see it tells you the field, ID, first name, last name. You understand? And tells you the type of data that can take inside that record. So these are the columns we have. Another name for column is called field. All right. So inside this, column 1 is like saying field 1, which is ID. Okay. And because this is not auto incremental or serial, I'll have to manually enter the ID by myself. Okay. So I'll come here and put the exact column name. So in this case, my column name is ID. Is it not true? I'll put a comma and put a space. In this second case, my column is what? First name, which is this. My column 3 is what? Last name, sorry. It's last name. Did you see that? Now, I'm going to reduce the font so you can see this. Now, remove this dot, dot, dot. We don't need it. Again, don't forget, the last one will always remove the comma. Always remove the comma in the last one. Okay? So these are 3 columns: ID, first name, and last name. ID, first name, and last name. Did you see that? Good. Now, which values do I want to put inside these 3 columns? Okay? So insert into subject these columns, these values. So this value 1 is for this one, value 2 is for this one, value 3 is for this one. I hope it makes sense. Okay? So ID, I want it to have let's say I want to put 1. I would have used 0, 1, but let's leave it at that. First name, I want to use Achiever. So you're going to see it's going to give us an error because we say that the variable character size we should accept is 4. So last name, we're going to come here and we're going to type okay. Did you see that? Now I told you the last one should not have that comma, so we're going to remove all this. Okay. Now we're still going to get more errors, so please pay rapt attention. If I copy this and paste this, did you see that? Take note of what's happening. So if I hit enter, you see, it told me unknown column achiever in field list. Unknown. Okay, now this is a different kind of error. Now, if I update this, I press the up arrow key and I come here, you might think it's because this character is more than 4, because it says the variable character is 4. What if I remove this and decide to use Fred, which is 4? If I hit enter, what did you see? It still tells you unknown column Fred in the field list. This is because whenever you see variable character, it accepts what we call it strings. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is integers is supposed to appear like this, but for first name and last name, they are strings. You need to say either you use single quotes or I think double quotes, whichever one. Okay, please, I want you to all to get this. It's very important. Okay, single quotes or double quotes. So if I come here now, press the up arrow key. Let's see. So if I come here, I'm pressing let's see, Control A. Excuse me. Let's do this. Please bear with me. I think the network. Give me a few minutes, please. Okay. I think we're having a network issue. Okay, so Control L, just so that like, so let me just fix it here. So I'll just come here. So let me change this to Fred so that it can just walk straight forward because of time. Last name, I'll just use OKE. Okay, so I'll just copy this. Okay, right click this, paste it, and I'll hit enter. Can you see it worked very fine? So how do we know if there are records inside our table? Do you remember we use select to read? We say select all record from, then we mention the name of the table. Okay, and the name of our table is subjects. And then we hit enter. And then we can see it. Any questions so far? If you understood what we've done so far, please type yes. Yes, we're using SQL. That's exactly what we're doing. So these are SQL statements, Mr. Babatunde. Except maybe I don't understand. Okay, so I hope you all understood this. We've learned how to create a database. We've learned how to create a table. We've learned how to insert a record into that table. Okay, so friends, the last thing I will show you, the last thing, then we'll wrap it up. We're already out of time, is how to create a user. Okay, how to create a user. We are done. We're actually done. All right, but I need you to understand this. It's very important. Okay, first of all, let's get this analogy correct. You know, if you create a data as a cloud engineer, right, you get a job requesting that you create a database. Okay, and when you create that database, and let's say for some reason you had an issue with a client, right? And you left. Now, you know, if that client is going to get another cloud engineer to continue, two things is involved. He may not want to tell the new cloud engineer to create a database again because he's going to pay for it. So rather, he might just tell the new cloud engineer, please, all I want to do is I want to be able to connect to this database. Okay. So we've created a database. There are different things that can happen to that database. Users can access the database, applications can access the database. Okay. But anybody who access the database, access it as a user. Do you remember when we wanted to log in, we used sudo space root, sudo space MySQL, and it's logged in for us. Okay. And that was made possible because of the root account. Okay. So you don't want people to always log in using the root account. It's not a good practice. Okay. Because anybody who uses the root account automatically becomes the owner of the database and can delete every other user. Okay. So you want other developers or other clients or externally, people can connect to the database remotely using a particular username. Okay. So I want to teach you how to create users. Okay. And to create users is very, very simple. Okay. Now, I will refer you to a documentation just because we want to save time. We're already out of time. So I'll just refer you to it, then do a quick recap. So I'll just come here and say create. Okay, I think I say it here. Good. Now I'll copy this. Friends, can you see the reason why I told you all to always document a lot? Like you see, this documentation was written, I think it was updated April 18th, 2024. Now, this lady is writing a documentation. You see all the documentation she was writing, some of those things, and it's solving problem today. And do you know that she's being paid for this article? Do you understand? You can actually be paid for it. Okay. Now, but you can just there's a way you can read up on it, how to become a digital ocean writer. Okay. And they can pay you for writing technical articles. Okay. I think I made mention of it when I was talking about how to create articles. So because of time, I won't delve into that. Okay, so that we can wrap up quickly. So now, but if you come here, right, you're going to see a lot of things. Now, because of time, I won't delve into this. I will just show you a very simple way to create a user. Okay, a very simple way to create a user. Okay, just so that I don't lose you all. Okay, and maybe in the intermediate, I'll dive deeper. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Create user. You mention the name of the user, and then you can put the host or what we call IP. This document explains everything. So take your time to read it. Okay. Identified by, then you specify the password. Okay. So I'll click on copy. Right now, there's something I want to show you before I paste it. So let's assume that we want the user to be John. Okay. We want the user to be John. Create user John at localhost. So this localhost means that you want this person to be able to connect. This is the IP or the host of the person that wants to connect. Okay. Identified by, you specify the password. So I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. And you see what's going to happen. So I'll click on copy and I'll come here, right click this and paste it. You see what I just did here? I'll click on enter. You see, we've created a user. Now, we can determine the permission. The permission. What can this user John do? Okay. What can this user John do? Friends, do you remember when I did a command? I did something like this before. select user, comma, host. And I said from MySQL dot user. I did something like this before. So before, you were not seeing John. But right now, I just added John to it. Did you see that? Good. Now, in case you are wondering, I can show you that I can create oh my God. Let's if I paste this, no, this is gone. So if I copy this, let's call this Sammy. So if there is a user called Sammy and Sammy has an IP address, again, I said I was going to explain this during the intermediate. So, but in case you're able to read it up, that's fine. Okay. I'm just being careful so that I don't overwhelm you all with so much information. Okay. So this is Sammy's IP. Okay. So I can come here and do this and paste this. So if I do this, this is what you see. And if I check this record now, you notice that Sammy is connecting with this IP. Okay. So it's only this IP that can connect to using this user detail. Okay, that's the way it works. And this is externally. Okay, so friends, let's wrap it up by giving it a permission. Permission. I'll take it slowly so you can understand. Every user has permission. If you read this document that I shared to you all, you're going to understand it at the bottom here. Okay, granting a user permission. There's a lot of explanation. Okay, so you can see a user can create, alter, drop, insert. So you have the power to do all these things. Okay, so please read it up. Because of time, I won't delve into it. Okay, so now the only thing I want to do right now is I'll just come here and copy this. Okay, and so I'll come here and so this is for Sammy, right? So I'll come here and say Sammy 444 4.4.4.4. Okay, now let me do that for John that I created. So if I say John and I say localhost here, so if I come here, yeah. So if I paste this, so this is the permission. What can John do on this database or on this databases? Like in this account right now, what can John do? Okay, in this database engine. So this John can do all things. All things. John can do that. So if I hit enter, this is what you see. Now, if I come here and say under Sammy, I can say I don't want to give Sammy all the privileges. I can come here and say Sammy can only select. Sammy can only alter or delete. Or Sammy should not have the ability to delete. He should be only to just be able to select or read. So I can come here. Now, I don't also want to give Sammy what we call grant option. Again, because of time, I can't really delve into this. Okay, so I can just come here and do just this. So if I come here and paste this and hit enter, hold on, let me see. At line 1. Okay, I think I know what's happening. Let's. So I can even specify some things. And now, because if you watch this, this is grant select privileges on all the database and all the tables. I can simply say grant select privilege. Now, first of all, let me be sure that I did not bother that spelling. Let's see. Let's see. Select here. Was correct. Grant select create update or to this person. Okay. Let's see. To this person. Okay, this is what we have here. Okay. So I can do it this way. So this first asterisk is for the database. This second asterisk is for the table. Again, friends, because we're out of time, I won't delve into this, okay? But please just practice with the material I've given you, all right? So I'll just come here and say, let's just choose a few of what we have here. So I'll just come here and say, this person should be able to just, okay, you know what? Come here, copy here. I'll paste it and say, let's see. Let's see. This person should be able to, he should not be able to create. Okay, that's one. I don't want him to be able to delete. Okay. And you should not be able to update anything. Good. So you can do, okay, you should not be able to drop a database. See that? So if you want to insert, you can insert. You should not be able to alter. You can insert, you can select, you can reference. So you can do all this. You can specify the name of the database, school database on the name of the table. So let's work with this. So I'll just come here, and this is 444, right? So I'll just come here and say 4.4.4.4. Okay, good. So I'll come here, copy this, and paste it, and hit enter. Good. So now if you want to see all the privileges, there's what we call show grants. Okay. Now you see so many things. Sorry, it comes with an S. Okay, show grants. Now, but there are so many things, and I'll need to reduce the fonts to be able to see it clearly. You see that? So, but depending on the size of your screen, you'll be able to see all those permissions there. All right. So, friends, this is how to create a database, a user, a table, and add record to it. Now, how can someone connect to that database? Do you remember this picture we have here? Users connect to the web application connect to the database. Now, for this example, what we are doing is we want to see how a user can connect to this database now. So we've created users, John and Sammy. How do we connect to this database? I'm going to show you how we can attempt doing that. So the first thing I need to do is just to type, first of all, flush privileges to effect those privileges we've added. So I'll just type flush privileges. And you must take note that the privileges here is not the Nigerian or British spelling, where we put a D in the privileges. Take note of that in case you get an error message. Okay. So now I'll just type exit or quit. Okay. Now, once I do that, I'm out of the MySQL editor environment. Okay. Now we want to learn how to connect to the database. Before I was using sudo and I said MySQL. Is it not true? But right now, I want to show you how users connect to the database if they don't want to use root. So what we do is this, we type -u, okay? We specify the name of the user, okay? So I'll come here and say username. I'll put -h, which is for the host, or what we call endpoint or IP. Then we'll put -p, which is for the password. Do you understand? And then we have capital P, which is for what we call ports. Okay, but most of the times port is not being used, but I'll show you how the port works during the RDS. So I'm going to remove this. So now, let's say we want to connect using whose record? We want to connect using Sammy, right? This is Sammy's record. Okay, so when we created Sammy, this is Sammy. So we'll come here and say the username is Sammy. So I'll come here and remove that username. -u will still be there. I'll just come here and type Sammy. Did you see that? Then the H is what? The host. So in this case, you're supposed to put the IP. You're supposed to put the IP. But in this case, we're only going to just be using local hosts because everything we are doing is in this computer. Local host means this our computer. Now, some of you may be asking a question. What if you want to connect externally? In other words, this user is in a different location, just like you created a database in your house, and I want to connect to the database from where I am. Okay, so you have to be specifying the IP. Okay, you have to specify my IP there before I'll be able to connect. That's how it works. I hope you get that. All right. Now, so, but in this case, I'll use localhost. Now it's asking for password. Now I'm going to type the password here. And the password here is what? Password. I didn't change it. The password is password. Okay, that's what it is. If you want to change it, you can put anything inside here. Okay, that's the password. Now, but this is not a good way to do it because anybody can see the password you typed. Okay, it's not a good practice. So what we normally do is we remove this password and we leave it with just -p. and then we hit enter. Okay. Now I'm going to remove this sudo. Okay, because whether you use sudo or not, in this case, just MySQL is all you need. MySQL space -u, which is the username, H, localhost, and P. So if you hit enter, you see it's asking us for a password. And the password there is password. So I'll just type it there and hit enter. So did you see what it tell me? Access denied. Sammy at localhost. Using password, yes. So let's check it and to be sure. This is it. Okay, you see, Sammy is not using localhost. That is one in the first place. Sammy was using 444. Did you see that? So let's see. I'm going to press the up arrow key and change this thing from localhost and say, let's say we want to use 4.4.4.4. And I hit enter. It's asking me for password. So now it's not going to work. Why? Because this IP right now does not exist. I just formulated this. I just formulated this server. It's not going to work. Okay. So, but if it existed, it would have been able to, because this is not our database. That's what we're trying to say. Okay. Now, let's press Ctrl C. Now, let's test that of John. Then we'll call it a day. All right. So you can see that we're going to get something in. So we want to connect using John. Okay. So let's see. We used John. Just to be sure that I'm not mixing this up. Let's see. We used John and then we used localhost, right? So good. MySQL-u John host is localhost. So we come here and just type localhost. Then you can remove all this. Then hit enter. It's going to ask you for password. And I don't think I changed it. It's password. Can you see? I'm in. And I am logging in as who? John. Even though you cannot see it here, well, currently we are logging in as John. And because we granted all privileges to John, I didn't mean we only grant privileges like this to John. If John comes and try to create databases, it will not work. That's the essence of the privileges, which we call permissions. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to stop for today. Please, I hope today's session has been informative and you understood. If you're able to understand it, please type yes, just to be sure you understood everything I've said so far. Yeah, let me share it. Please, do you understand? Can I get yes if you understand everything I've done so far? Any question? This is where we're going to stop for today. Okay, so we don't make the session too lengthy than it is. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, friends. Thank you for joining us today. Please, I encourage you to practice. Yes. For some of you, it's the first time. For some of you, it's something new, but you need to practice it. If you don't practice it, it won't make sense. You won't get it. Okay, so you really need to practice it so that you can internalize the whole things we covered. Okay, so I'm rooting for you all. So please, if you have any question, we can ask. And if you I'm so sorry. Somebody called to tell me that sent me a message. I'm so sorry. I've not been on Telegram since last week, right? So bear with me. I'll try to be very active between now and tomorrow, and so that I can be able to respond to all the messages. Okay. So friends, if there's no question, it means I'm going to stop the recording. Somebody said, why did Sammy login show error? Yeah, Sammy's login showed error because that IP does not exist. Okay. That IP does not exist. Now, the idea is this, okay, because you're asking. So the idea is this. If you watch here, this host is simply meaning that this is the database IP. And that is not true. This is not our database IP. Okay, our database server IP. And because this is not our database server IP, it can't connect. So if you, from your end, want to connect, so if I type exit right now, watch, I'm going to type exit. So I'm Control L. This is what I did before, right? Let's see. This is what I did before and it's not working. So I'm telling you that if you want to connect from your end to this database, right? For me to allow it to work, for me to get you to connect to this server, there are a lot of things that need to be done. Okay. So if you want to practice it, is there any one of you that's currently, you've set up your MySQL where you are right now, and then I can show you how we can connect to this database right now. Anybody? Is anybody practicing alongside me? Although I can do it. Oh, you know what? Let me do it from my end. So the only thing I'll do is I'll just spin up what is it called? Killer Coda. But I felt it would have been more awesome if somebody else already have their server there so that you guys can confirm. Why don't my values I input in the user appear in the new user I created? Abdusamar, you might want to share a screenshot, okay? Please share a screenshot so that I can see what you mean, okay? All right. Share a screenshot, please. All right. So I'll come here. We're actually done for the day. Okay. I'm just trying to address the question somebody asked. So I'll click on this. And so this is a Linux environment, right? Even though I wanted to do this in our next class, but I'll just use today to do it, no problem, because somebody asked. So this is a different computer from this one. I hope you all understand this. First of all, do you understand what I mean? So this computer, my server is different from this one. Okay. So if I want this computer to connect to this computer's database, how do I do it? So in this case, this computer is the client. This one is the server. Do we understand? This is the client. This is the server. Okay. So how do you connect to this database server? Okay. So first thing I need to do in this computer, I will install what we call MySQL client. Okay. So all I need to do is to type sudo apt. Remember, I told you to always update. So update here. Let's wait a little while. It's updating. Good. Sudo apt install MySQL -client. Did you see that? I'll put a -y. So it's going to install my SQL client for me. So the client wants to connect to the server. Okay. Good. I'll clear the screen. So now, how do we connect? All you need to do after installing MySQL client, just type MySQL. Okay. Put a space -u. So in this case, we want to connect as the user John. Is it not true? So now, if I come and say user John -h, so the host where this user John is, and in this case, the host is this my computer. Okay, so I need to provide the IP of that computer. Now, I need to provide the IP of this computer. So it's not, if you type IPA or IP address, it's going to give you an IP. So what we need is not this private IP. Okay, what we need is the public IP for this EC2 instance. So first of all, friends, can you remember that when we created the instance, you can see the public IP from here. This is the public IP. Okay, so I can come here and copy it. So if I come here and this is it. So -h, I'll put a space and I'll paste it. I hope that makes sense. Now, the next thing you put a dash P, then you put the password. And the password, so if you hit enter and try to connect it, now it's going to fail deliberately. Okay. Now, but the error message will be different. So I'm going to type PASSWORD password. So do you notice what it's doing? It's trying to connect, but some things are limiting it. And there are actually two things that are limiting it. Two things. Okay. Now, because of the time, I'm just going to quickly do it. Maybe in the next class, I'll explain it again. There are two things. Remember, anytime you want to connect into an EC2 instance, you need to open security group. Do you remember? So MySQL, this MySQL server that we have here, right, is listening on port 3306. Every server has its port number. Okay, every MySQL, every database server has a port number. Okay, so this MySQL, if in the process of connecting, we need to specify the port, or by default, it will check port 3306. But if it's trying to connect, this server does not allow it. By default, AWS block any incoming access. Okay, so to do that, we need to come here and disallow ports. So we come here and go and enable this instance security rather. I'll click on this, scroll down. Sorry. Security group, right click and open it in a new tab. Security group. Edit the inbound rules. Okay. Add a rule. Click here and say, I want to allow somebody that is using MySQL, right? So just choose this and you're going to see 3306. So say anybody from anywhere. So I'll just come here and click on save rules. So I told you there were two things we need to do. One has been done. So if you check the killer code that we are trying to connect with, you see that it has given us an error. It tells us can't connect to the SQL server. Okay, this is the error it got. Is it not true? Don't worry, we've solved the first one, which is the opening the security group. So the second one we need to do is on this server. Okay, so take note of it. I told you there are two things you must always do when you are done with your database. If you want people to connect externally, take note. We were able to connect with John here. See, this is what I did before with John. I did enter and I typed the password and it worked. Why? Because this is local host. Local host means my computer, this computer. Okay. But if you want to connect externally from another computer, you will not be able to connect except you disable those two things. We've done the first one. All right. So now let's do the second one. I'm just going to drop the path. Okay. So I'll just type sudo nano. There's a path called /etc. Don't worry about this. Okay. But if you've watched the Linux, you understand that this is system configuration location. So I'll just come here and say MySQL. I'm going to drop the path so that you can practice alongside MySQL. If you press tab, it's going to show you this. And then MySQL is this one, MySQL D. So let me copy it for you so you can copy. I'll just copy that part and share it with you. All right. I've shared it with you. And so I'm going to just type sudo space nano space this. Now, once I hit enter, okay, all I need to do is just to come to the bottom. Okay, just come to the bottom. Let's see. If you come to the bottom, you're going to see something. So this is what I want you to see. Okay, this line, it says bind address 127.0.0.1. So I want you to do something here. Okay, if you want somebody to be able to connect to your database, you need to change this. Okay, so That's what we want to do. So let's type, okay, no. Come here. So you remove this. This is where my cursor is. So I'll remove this. Okay, bind address, and I'll put 0.0. You can put the IP if you want to. Okay, if you want to put the IP, so this is the computer that wants to connect, is it not true, into this server. You can put the IP of the server, or if you want any other person from anywhere to be able to connect, you can just do this that I'm doing. So this means anybody from anywhere. Okay, so once I do this, I'll press Control X, and I'll press Y, and I'll press Enter. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you. So the last thing is to reload this configuration you just did. Okay, you need to restart MySQL so that it can take effect. This configuration can take effect. So I'll come here and say sudo system control. Okay, now often I use reload instead of restart, but let's just use restart. Okay, restart MySQL. Okay, so once I do this and I hit enter, it said, okay, my spelling, there's no S in my system. So I'll put an S here and I'll hit enter. Let's see, good. I'm done restarting it. Okay, so I've done those two things I said I was going to do. Now watch what's going to happen. So remember, somebody from this computer is trying to connect to the database server here. So watch MySQL-U, John. The host is this one. Then let's put the password. So I'll hit enter and say the password is PASSWORD, and I hit enter. So see what it's saying. It said this guy is not allowed to connect to this. Okay. For some reason, but one thing you should notice, you notice that the error message has changed. Is it not true? The error message has changed. But let's try it again. This shouldn't be a problem, but let's see. Okay. Post this is not allowed. Okay. So I think it has to do with what is it called? It has to do with this killer coder. Okay, for some reason, this IP probably AWS blocked it. So because if you see, say host, this host is not allowed to connect to this. And I did not have opened everything. So it's possibly AWS. So if you try this on your own, you should be able to connect. I've done it multiple times. Do you understand? So that's the answer to your question. Okay. The person who asked, I think it was Mr. Babatunde that asked the question. Okay. Okay, friends. Since there are no questions for today, we're going to stop there. If you want to, you can always raise your hands up and I can, okay, let me just unmute in case anybody. But I think that's all for today. That's all for today. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you. Yeah, let me stop the recording. So it's not too lengthy. It's already late.